Welcome student of class 10, welcome to the part 5 of the rise of nationalism. This is your part 5, the rise of nationalism in Europe, which we have started this chapter in the previous week. In the previous lecture, what we have discussed was about the hunger, hardships and popular revolt. So before resuming the classes, students, I would like to wish you a very happy life here, and hope so you're taking care of yourself, and if in case you're coming to school, see that you are protected enough, and if you're not finding it safe enough to come to school, then you can sit and see the lectures which has been provided in the website group. And today we are going to discuss about we are going to take up a new unit here, the revolution of the liberals, that of 1848. Before that, we have seen the hunger, hardship and the popular revolt in the year called 1830. We have seen the Silesian revolt, where the people, the weavers and the contractor had a fight among themselves, and how the people have come onto the road in the Paris with the bad harvest which came around in 1848. After that, we have seen how King Louis Philippe has eloped, and National Assembly was established, and where the two main basic law was formed, that is your right to vote. The people above 21 years of age are able to vote here, and then the right to work. So these are the things which we have seen in the previous video. In today's lecture, we'll discuss about the revolution of the liberals, the coming of the autocrat, and how King Prussia has been given the offer of becoming the king, and he has rejected, and what was the reason to reject it. So student, what we have seen in the revolution, that as the revolution was growing up all over in the Europe, we have seen that with many revolts with the poor, unemployed workers and starving peasants during 1848 in Europe, educated middle class of France also started a revolution. Okay, they also got a chance of revolting the regime of the autocratic government, or the conservative regime, which was after year 1850. Okay, so the middle class people has come up to revolt against the abdictions of the monarch, and a republic based on the universal male suffrage. Okay, so these two demand was with the peoples of the middle class who wanted that the monarch should be removed, and secondly, all the male people should get the right to vote. In other parts of Europe, men and women of the liberal middle class combined their demands of the constitutionalism with national unification. Okay, so this was there only, but in some parts of the Europe, you also see the peoples of Europe, that is your men and women, coming together and demanding for a constitution and also for the national unifications. Okay. So this was the major demand of the people, of the revolutionary people. Okay. So on the other side, what we have seen in the political ideas, what we have seen, as the revolt was going on in the Europe, the people took an advantage of growing the popular unrest to push the demands for creating a nation. Okay, so as the people was thinking that the peoples are all over the Europe, there is a cure, so why not, this is a good time that they can ask the government for demanding for creating a nation, for a state on a parliamentary principle, that is a constitution, freedom of press and the freedom of association. So this was the three demands. One is what? They need a parliament, they need a constitution, they need a freedom of press, and then the freedom of associations to form the parties. Okay, so all these demands have come up together, and ultimately it was in May revolt on 1848 where these peoples, they have combined together, and 831 elected representatives marched to the Frankfurt Parliament. Okay, where was this Frankfurt Parliament held? Then it was held in the church called St. Paul. Okay. So in the May revolt on 18th May 1848, 831 elected representatives marched to the Frankfurt Parliament, which was held in the Church of St. Paul and drafted a constitution for the German nation. So this is one of the examples we have seen in 1848. In the revolt of 1848, the people have come together and gone to draft the constitution in the Frankfurt Parliament, and this was held in your St. Paul Church. Okay. And this was to be headed by a monarchy subject to a parliament. There will be no absolute monarch. There will be only a constitutional monarch, which means to say that there will be a parliament, and under the parliament the monarchical system will work. Okay, so this was the demand of the revolt of 1848. After this drafting of the constitution, this proposal was given to the king called Frederick Wilhelm IV, who was a king. He was the king of the Prussia. Okay, he was offered the crown on these terms. Then the king rejected it and joined the other monarchs to oppose the elected assembly. Okay, since this assembly was the member of this assembly were the middle class people, okay, the intelligentsia people. So that is why Queen Prussia did not accept that once when he was fully the king, or it was a time when they were having the full authority, and now they have to do some kind of concession. That is what concession? They have to be under the parliament. So this was not to be accepted by the king of Prussia, so he rejected it. So he rejected the proposal and he went to form anti-party, that was your opposition party, who opposed the elected assembly. Okay, so they didn't want an elected assembly. In that party, your Frederick William has gone. Okay, so all of them, they protested against whom? They protested against the General Assembly. So now there were two groups. One was the opposition people, the monarch in one side, and the other was what? The revolutionary group or the liberals who were standing in the one side by forming the General Assembly in the Frankfurt Parliament. Okay, so two group of the peoples was there. And after that, what we have seen, what is the consequences of the Frankfurt Parliament? So there were 2-3 consequences what has to be discussed here. In the first, what we have seen, that the opposition of the aristocracy and the military became stronger and the social basis of Parliament eroded. Okay, which means to say that slowly and steadily this opposition party have taken the have taken a great chance here in order to prove themselves that they are willing to bring the changes among the common people, and so that they can revolt against the General Assembly and they can be nearer to the public. And so for that reason, some diplomatic policy was been accepted by the by these peoples for the needs of the common people. Okay, which these peoples? Then these were your aristocrat peoples. Okay, so these opposition party was slowly and steadily, by taking the demands of the common people, they were going to the stronger side. Whereas on the other hand, what we see, the General Assembly has slowly been departed from the common people, because they were not accepting or they were not in the favor of the proposals made by the common people. So what is the second point? The parliament was dominated by the middle class, who resisted the demands of the workers. Mind you, once again I am saying you, who resisted the demands of the workers and artisans. Okay, and consequently lost their support. Okay, so what we have seen, हमेशा उन्होंने उस जिस आदमी के लिए और जिस लोगों के लिए वो लोग ऊपर आए थे, अब उन्हीं की डिमांड्स को उन्होंने मानने से इनकार कर दिया. तो धीरे धीरे क्या हुआ, ये ऐसे करते करते वो उनसे दूर हो गए और जो दूर थे वो उनके करीब हो गए. तो एक बहुत अच्छा मौका मिला इन अपोजिशन पार्टी को कि वो अब जनता के करीब आए, तो उनके हिसाब से वो काम करे और जनरल असेंबली के खिलाफ मुहिम रचे. ओके, तो So this was the second consequences. In the end, the troops were called in and the assembly was forced to disband. इस मौका का फायदा उठा के क्या क्या the aristocrats they called their troops and they disbanded the national assembly. ठीक है, तो national assembly को disband कर दिया. तो ये सारी कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस थी. एक बार फिर से हम लोग देख लें कि रेवोल्यूशनरी मूवमेंट जो हो रही थी हमारी फ्रांस में, तो यहाँ पे बहुत सारी चीज़ें को देखा गया. पहले हम लोग ने देखा कि पोर लोग तो लड़ते ही थे, पेजेंट्स लोग सब लड़ते, लेकिन बीच में मिडिल क्लास लोग आए, उन्होंने डिमांड किया कि मोनार्किकल सिस्टम को हटाया जाए, पहली बात, और दूसरी यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट सफ्रेज सारे मेल्स को दिया जाए. इसके बाद उन्होंने जितने लोग और भी थे कहीं और भी एरिया में, इन्होंने ये चीज़ का एडवांटेजेस लिया और उन्होंने डिमांड किया कि उन्हें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन चाहिए, उन्हें फ्रीडम ऑफ प्रेस चाहिए, फ्रीडम ऑफ एसोसिएशन चाहिए और उनको एक नेशनल यूनिफिकेशन चाहिए. ये सब करने के लिए उन्होंने एक मुहिम रचा और वो मुहिम कब हुआ? 18 मई 1848, जिसको हम लोग मे रिवॉल्ट के नाम से भी जानते हैं. इस में हम लोगों ने क्या देखा कि 831 इलेक्टेड रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ने शपथ ली कि उन लोगों को कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को ड्राफ्ट करना है फ्रैंकफर्ट पार्लियामेंट में. ये वेन्यू कहाँ पे हुआ? तो सेंट पॉल में हुआ. ओके, उसके बाद इसकी जब ये ड्राफ्ट हो गई तो बताया गया कि इसको हेड करने के लिए कोई आदमी चाहिए. तो किनको दिया गया ये ऑफर? तो फ्रेडरिक विल्हेम फोर्ड किंग ऑफ प्रूशिया को ये दिया गया कि अब आप ये अथॉरिटी लीजिए, आप उसको चलाइए. तो उन्होंने इनकार कर दिया. उन्होंने कहा कि एक ऐसा समय था जब हमें पूरा पावर्स दिया जाता था, फुल ऑटोक्रेसी हमारे अंडर में थी और अब हम किसी के अधीन काम नहीं कर सकते हैं. तो उन्होंने ये चीज़ को रिजेक्ट करके वो बाकी सबके साथ इनको बहिष्कार करना स्टार्ट किया. किनका बहिष्कार? जनरल असेंबली का बहिष्कार. ऑपोजिशन पार्टी सारे एक हो गए, एरिस्टोक्रेट सारे हो गए, दो गुट में बढ़ गए थे. एक थे ऑपोजिशन और ऑटोक्रेट्स और एक थे आपके लिबरल्स और दो जनरल असेंबली के लोग. तो इन दोनों के बीच में विवाद होने लगे. धीरे धीरे ये लोग दूर होने लगे. किससे? आम आदमी से, क्योंकि इनका डिमांड ये मानने को तैयार अब धीरे धीरे इनकार करते रहे. और उसी तरह वो क्या किए, उन्होंने पब्लिक को अपने तरफ खींचने की कोशिश किया, उन्होंने मोबिलाइज करने की कोशिश किया, डिप्लोमेटिकली इस समस्या के समाधान उन्होंने करने की कोशिश की. उसके बाद अंत में क्या देखा गया कि जनरल असेंबली को उन्होंने डिस्बैंड कर दिया विद द हेल्प ऑफ द ट्रूप्स. इसके दौरान दो और चीज़ हम लोग ने देखा यहाँ पर कि क्या है, वुमेन्स राइट. तो वुमेन्स राइट में हम लोगों ने यहाँ पे क्या देखा, आप देखेंगे कि इस में देखा गया कि द इशू ऑफ एक्सटेंडिंग द पॉलिटिकल राइट्स ना, in the issue of extending the political rights to women was always a controversial in the liberal movement. हमेशा ये बात विवाद रहता थी कि किस तरह से ये राइट हम देंगे किनको? वुमेन्स को. तो ये बहुत controversial topic था. So in which large number of the women had participated actively, okay, over the years. सब शुरुआत से ही जब रशियन रेवोल्यूशन चल रही थी उसी समय से आपने देखा कि किस तरह से वुमेन ने पार्टिसिपेट किया मूवमेंट में, लेकिन इसके बावजूद भी उनको एक्टिव सिटीजन का दर्जा नहीं मिला. तो दैट इज़ वाई ये मुहिम रुकी नहीं. डिस्पाइट दिस होने के बाद भी उनको ये जो राइट टू वोट है ये चीज़ उनको डिनाई कर दिया गया. Okay, so when the Frankfurt Parliament convened in the church at Saint Paul, women were admitted only as an observer. तो जब ये फ्रैंकफर्ट पार्लियामेंट गठन हो रही थी ड्राफ्ट करने के लिए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, यहाँ उनको यहाँ इनको इन्विटेशन मिला था, बट नॉट एज अ मेंबर, एक्टिव मेंबर, बट जस्ट ओनली एज एन ऑब्जर्वर टू स्टैंड इन द विजिटर गैलरी. Okay, so this was the changes what we have seen. Besides this, though conservative forces was able to suppress the liberal मूवमेंट्स इन 1848, उन्होंने they were successful. ये मे रिवॉल्ट को सप्रेस करने के लिए कंजर्वेटिव लोगों सक्सेसफुल रहे, बट दे कुड नॉट रिस्टोर द ओल्ड ऑर्डर. मैंने बताया ना रिस्टोर क्यों, क्योंकि वो जो कंजर्वेटिव्स थे, जो चेंजेस ऑर्थोडॉक्स थे, जिनको चेंजेस पसंद नहीं था, तो अब जब चेंजेस पसंद नहीं है तो उस तरह से अगर आप करिएगा तो व्हाट विल हैपन, द पीपल विल नॉट एक्सेप्ट द थिंग्स व्हाट यू आर पुटिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ देम. सो दे वांट some changes in the system. system. So the monarchs were beginning to realize that the cycles of revolution and repression could only be ended by granting the concession. उनको ऐसा लगा कि अब इनको शोषित करके हम इसको ज़्यादा दिन तक संभाल नहीं सकते, इसलिए हम लोगों को उनको कुछ they have to give some concessions, okay, to the liberal nationalist revolution. Hence, in 1848, the autocratic monarchs of Central and the Eastern Europe began to introduce the changes that had already taken place after 1850. Okay, तो ये changes क्या था? तो सबसे पहले उन्होंने क्या चीज हटाया? सर्फडम एंड बॉन्डेड लेबर. ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट दे रिमूव द सर्फडम एंड बॉन्डेड लेबर विच वॉज एबॉलिश्ड बोथ इन द हैब्सबर्ग डोमिनियंस एंड इन रशिया. ठीक है, रशिया में भी हटा दिया गया इस चीज को, और हैब्सबर्ग एम्पायर में भी इस सर्फडम और बॉन्डेड लेबर को हटा दिया. सभी को ये राइट दिया जाता है कि वो अपने लैंड को खुद से प्लाउ करें और उनको अच्छा लाइफ देने की कोशिश की जा रही थी. द हैब्सबर्ग रूलर्स ग्रांटेड मोर ऑटोनॉमी टू द हंगेरियंस इन 1600 एंड 1867. ठीक है, तो हैब्सबर्ग रूलर ने बहुत सारे राइट दे दिया गया किसको? टू द हंगेरियंस, कि वो अपने जजमेंट, अपने डिसीजंस को अपने क्षेत्र का खुद से ले. ओके, सो इस तरह से हम लोगों ने क्या देखा? रेवोल्यूशन देखा कि किस तरह से मोनार्किकल सिस्टम फिर से दोबारा आ गई, द कंजर्वेटिव रिजाइम्स आई, वुमेन को यहाँ पे राइट टू वोट नहीं दिया गया है ना, उनको एज ए पैसिव सिटीजन ही रखा गया, और बहुत सारे लोगों ने जैसे कि हंगेरियंस को उनको ऑटोनॉमी राइट दिया गया, जिसके कारण से लोग प्रभावित हुए और फिर से कंजर्वेटिव रिजाइम्स को दोबारा से यूरोप में चुन के लेके आए. ओके, सो इसके बाद हम लोग ने देखेंगे कि द डिफरेंट पर्सनैलिटीज जिन्होंने यूनिफिकेशन ऑफ इटली में उनका योगदान है. सो लेट्स सी व्हाट डू वी हैव इन दिस. So let's see the different peoples here who have contributed in the unifications of their Italy. So the famous personalities which was involved in the unifications of Italy basically were three here. One is your Giuseppe Mazzini here. The second is your Count Camillo di Cavour, and the third one is your Giuseppe Garibaldi. Okay, so one by one we'll come to know regarding all these three personalities. So the first and the foremost before us we are having one is your Giuseppe Mazzini. So student, you have remembered that what I have told you in the previous classes. The Mazzini was one of the revolutionary in the Italy who has provoked regarding the aristocracy and who did not wanted Italy to be a patchwork of a division of a kingdom. So for that reason he wanted to unify the Italy. So let's see what do we have for him. So during 1830, Mazzini was one of the revolutionary of Italy. We have known this, okay, because we have read about Italy and a bit of Giuseppe Mazzini in the previous videos. Second is what? He has formed the two underground society, as we knew that he was on exile, and after that where he has been where he was against the government in the Liguria, and after that he was in an exile by the government there, and then when he was in the exile he formed the two secret society. One was your Young Italy, which was in your Marsila, and the second one was your Young Europe, which is in your Bern. Okay, so this has helped him to take a war forward against the autocratic government. He believed that, Mazzini always believed that God has intended the nation to be a natural unit of mankind. Okay, so he has said that every human being needs a nation, and he believes that God has made the nation to be a natural unit of mankind. It is a place where the people should live together with cohesion. Okay. And then what we have seen, Italy has to be forged into single unified republic, wider alliance of nations. So he has believed that in order to form ourselves into a bigger part and the part of the Europe and feed ourselves into a big country, we need to be unified. So all the people should forget their differences and should be unified under a single whole to make a complete country. Okay, so this was the message given by Giuseppe Mazzini. Then the second personality who has has contributed a lot in the unification of Italy was your Count Camillo di Cavour. Okay, so he also had his two achievements. One achievement was that he was made the prime minister twice. No, he became the prime minister of the Piedmont from 1852 to 1860. Okay, earlier he was a chief minister, and later he has defeated the Austrian forces. Okay, in 1851. So he made an alliance with the France through tactful diplomacy process. He was one of the people who was knowing more than one languages. Okay, so he knew French language better than the Italian. So this also made it handy in dealing with the opponent group. So what you have seen that he has made an alliance with the France through the tactful diplomacy policy and process, and Piedmont succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces in 1859. Okay, so this was the achievement which he has brought. And next we are seeing here Giuseppe Garibaldi. So the third people who have taken the responsibility to unify Italy was Garibaldi. He was a central figure in the unification of Italy because much of the war he fought by himself to unify Italy. So let's see what do we have for him. He was a central figure in the unification of Italy. Okay, why? Because he personally fought in many battles that led to the unification of Italy. Third, he has been called the hero of the two worlds. Why hero of the two worlds? Because of his military enterprises in South America and Europe in 1832. Okay, so for that reason, he was known as the hero of this two worlds. One is your South America and the other is your Europe. Okay. In 1833, he met Mazzini and he helped him in unifying the Italy. And later, in 1854, he also supported Victor Emmanuel II, okay, for the effort to unify the Italian states, and he went out of the box to support this government. Okay, so full support was given by Garibaldi in the unification of Italy. In 1860, he led some famous expedition of 10,000 armies to South Italy, and these armies were known as the Red Shirt armies. Okay. In 1867, he led the army to Rome to fight for the Papal States, and later you'll see that how the Papal States also came under the Italy. When the France garrison was removed, and ultimately France had to withdraw its troops from the Papal States in 1870, and this way the Papal State also have been unified in the Italy. So these were the three peoples who have unanimously fought in order to bring the unification and to make a single unified republic nation in Italy. So now we will see the unification of these are the peoples who have done. Now we will see what is the process in bringing the unification in Italy and Germany. Okay. How the process of unification is being done. So a quick review has been important here. So as we have seen the three different personalities who were responsible for unifying Italy. So that time the case of the Germany was one that after 1848 nationalism in Europe moved away from its association with democracy and revolution. So in a parallel form there were the two parties, as I told you. One was your opponents as well as your autocrat peoples and the conservative peoples, and the other were your revolutionary groups who yet again was not forgetting its nationalism, the true feeling, in spite of being suppressed by the conservative. Still, it could not totally stop the people from fighting towards their nationalism. So the nationalist sentiments were often mobilized by the conservatives for promoting state power and achieving political domination of Europe. At one hand, the conservative wanted to dominate the Europe, so that is why they were mobilizing the people by giving them concessions and all those. And on the other hand, the peoples who were from the revolutionary group, they wanted their statehood back. So for that reason, they were always forcing themselves to go against the monarchical system and the conservative regime. So this can be observed in Germany as well as in Italy, what they have gone through in bringing the nation into a unified form. Okay, so what we have seen in the Germany, as you have seen, nationalist feelings were widespread among middle class Germans who in 1848 tried to unite the different regions of the German confederations into a nation state governed by an elected parliament. We have seen how the people have come together in the palace of Versailles, and they have come together to form a parliament. They have formed the parliament in order to give some specific right to themselves, as well as they wanted to draft the constitution. So for this purpose, the people met together in 1848, and then we have also seen the revolt. But unfortunately, the people did not turn towards them. So for that reason, there was a clash between the people as well as the people who were responsible in the General Assembly. They could not cater the needs of the working people and the peasants. So for that reason, the people lost the faith in the General Assembly. The liberal initiatives to nation building was, however, repressed by the combined forces. We have seen how these liberal peoples were repressed by the combined forces of your military, your monarchy, as well as your large land owners who were known as Junkers of Prussia. Okay, so these peoples started suppressing the liberals. But as it has been said that you cannot stop the person from fighting for their own motherhood or nationhood feeling. So for that reason, they were not able enough to suppress these liberals. So from then on, we see that we have discussed about the Zollverein here, how in order to bring all the economic development, the people have started here a custom union which was known as a Zollverein. So they wanted to omit the different kinds of tax which was paid on the different units. So for that reason, custom union was developed where Germany coincidentally became the member there, and with that Prussia has initiated in binding Germany in the economic development. Okay, so from then on, Prussia took on the leadership of the movement of national unifications of Germany, and its chief minister, that is your Ottoman Bismarck, was an architect of this process and carried out with the help of the Prussian army and the bureaucracy. So we will see now that how your Ottoman Bismarck has contributed in the development of a German. For now, what we have heard, we have understood that the Germany, in order to unite Germany, Prussia has initiated in developing this process, and the Ottoman Bismarck has shown its ability and diplomacy, tactful policy in order to unify the Germany. So we'll see what were the major events in this unifications. Okay. So let's see what are the major events in this unification. So the major events in the unification of Germany is we put forward on the board. Like they had 3 wars consecutively for 7 years with Austria, Denmark, and France. Okay, and in this war, who became the victory? So the Prussian got the victory in this war, and it has completed the process of the unification. Okay, so it has won over Austria, it has won over Denmark, it has won over France. So this was because of whom? Because of your Ottoman Bismarck, who has took a very important step in unifying the Italy. Okay, I mean unifying your Germany. I beg your pardon there. So in June 1871, the Prussian king, okay, which Prussian king? William I, was proclaimed as the German emperor in a ceremony which was held at Paris. Palace of Versailles. Okay, so after winning, this proposal was given to King William I in order to become the emperor of your Germany. So, and this event was held in a palace called Versailles with everybody's recommendation. And Kaiser William I headed the new German Empire. So it was Kaiser William I who headed this German Empire, and he has after becoming the king, the foremost thing which was emphasized by this government was what? For modernizing the currency, okay, then controlling the banking system, okay, all the government should have a control over the banking system, and then law and order, no? So legal and judicial system in Germany was strengthened. Okay, so student, what we have seen that peoples of Germany did not lose hope, and after being suppressed by the conservative regime, still the people kept on the feeling of the nationalism and for fighting for their nationhood, and ultimately with the initiative steps of Prussia, and the Germany was able to unify into a complete nation. So in this way Germany was unified with the initiative of Prussia. So Prussian message and practice became the model for the rest of the Germany. So coincidentally how Zollverein was introduced. So with this in the economic policy was successful. So Prussia later has taken up the political field also under its own jurisdictions, and with the help of the Prussia, what happened? Germany was able to be known as a complete nation. So with this we have completed with the unification of Germany. In the next class we will be discussing regarding the unifications of Italy. So until then, be safe and sound at your home, and please study hard.